All right, what's going on, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the All Sports All Plays Network. This is the Full Count, and I am here today with Ray Cruz. Ray, how are things going?
I'm going good. How you doing tonight, Nate?
All right, I'm doing well. So this is actually so going, week by week. What we normally do is have a top five list of Kansas City pitchers of all time by team by team. And this week we're doing the Kansas City Royals. Um, so I'll go ahead. Actually, Ray, do you want to go first on that?
That is whatever you want to do.
Yeah, why don't you go first? That way I can get a couple of shares then.
Okay, I will start with my number five. My number five would be Dennis Leonard, who pitched for the Kansas City Royals from 1974 to 1983 and 1985 to 1986. He had two stints there. No Royal pitcher has played the role of a workhorse as well as Leonard, who was arguably the best of an underrated group of starting pitchers in the 1970s, while the flashy offense stole most of the headlines. A three-time 20-game winner with Kansas City, Leonard holds the franchise record with 103 complete games and 23 shutouts through over 200-plus innings over 7 straight years, including the at least 290 in 1977 and 1978. And after the subpar 1982 campaign, Leonard severely dislocated his kneecap in early 1983. 4 operations and 2+ years on the shelf later, he returned for what would become his final year in 1986, struggled to an 8-13 record with a 4.44 ERA. Many consider access simply because he nearly ate up another 200 innings without further injury. My number 4 will be Mark Kubexela in 1984 to 1996. Along with Saberhagen, Danny Jackson, Glubeck was part of a young core of exceptional starting pitchers that helped Kansas City win the World Series in 1985. He evolved through the rest of the decade, and fortunately for the Royals, he pitched at his best when Saberhagen was suffering from one of his odd, even number letdowns. Kabakia racked up with wins, even with his ERA disagree. He was often around his ultimate career mark of 3.96. That improved greatly at the end of the 1980s, wins 20 games with 2.7 ERA in 1988, followed by a 15-11 record and a 3.404 mark in 1989. That's as good as it would get for Quebec. As an overwork of his fastball, hard slided caught up to him over the next 5 years. He would never top 133 innings as he battled injuries and general insignificancy. He had something of a renaissance in 1995, finishing a mediocre of 12-14, but with a team best 3.75 ERA. As performance enhanced began to power up opposing sluggers, often while Quebec holds career franchise records for walks, wild pitches, and hit baseman. My number 3 is Kevin Napier, who had 2 stints with Kansas City Royals from 1989 to 1999 to 2003 to 2004. The right-hander from California High Desert outside of Los Angeles took over the role of the ace left behind Saberhagen and thrived for the regressing Kansas City organization during the 1990s, producing a 113 wins and 85 record in a decade, which the Royals had only 3 winning seasons. Napier's term as a Royal reached an apex of 1993 when he led the American League in with a 2.56 ERA, secured a sharp 18-8 record, and set a franchise record by tossing 33 straight scoreless innings. He grew increasingly dependable for the Kansas City Royals as the team's innovated transition to low-budget bottom feeders took on a more defending shape, but eventually became a victim of the hard times when he produced his first losing campaign 9-13 in 1997, despite his best ERA at 3.40. In 4 years, Apier's luck collapsed in 1998 when he tore his shoulder and missed the majority of the season, tiring of the atmosphere, especially in the light of the fact that he signed a long-term extension with the promise that the Royals would forgo a strong commitment to winning. He asked for it and received a trade midway through the 1999 season to the Oakland Athletics. After winning a World Series ring with the 2002 Anaheim Angels, Apier had a brief, unforgettable second tour of duty with the Royals in late 2003, signing singling the end of his career. My number 2 is Dan Queensberry from 1979 to 1988. The Colorful Quiz was known as the Colorful Quiz. Was an otherwise ordinary reliever when after his rookie season he was introduced to a submarine style delivery by veteran Pittsburgh reliever Kent Tagliabue. The tutoring turned Queensberry into an American League most dominant closer over the next 6 years, leading the league 5 times in saves, including 4 straight times from 1982 to 1985, when he charged and distinguished himself as one of the game's last great 2-inning closer by racking up an annual total of roughly 130 frames per season. Relied solely on singers, curves, and occasional knuckler, Queensberry struck out a few batters and walked even fewer, barely one per 9 innings. Always good for a quote. Queensberry describes his pitching style by once saying, "I'm not a Mercedes, I'm a Volkswagen." And they get a lot of mileage out of me, but I'm not pretty. The Royals found nothing about him. He raised the bar on the single-season record for saves with 45 in 1983. Finished second in the American League Cy Young Award vote in consecutive years, 1983 and 1984, and finished in the third American League MVP race in 1984 after saving 44 games for the Royals, a team that struggled to win the American League West with a underwhelming 84-78 record. 8 years after throwing his last pitch, Queensberry died of brain cancer at the age of 45.
That's sad. I kind of want to meet him.
Yeah. My number one is Brett Savenhagen. The stringy right-hander acquired more success and fame than any of the Royals pitchers, all in spite of the bizarre trait of being at the top of his game in odd number years, slumming off in the even number seasons in between. And then his 4 odd number of campaigns at Kansas City, Saberhagen was 74-30 with a 2.85 ERA run average. In his 4 even number years, he was 36-48 with a mark of 3.70 ERA. After a rookie 10-11 showing as a part-time starter in 1984, Saberhagen put on a tremendous sophomore effort in 1985. At the age of 21, winning his first 2 of the American League Cy Young Awards with a 20-6 record and a 2.87 ERA. And those votes were cast before the postseason, in which he shined as the World Series MVP, allowing a run on 11 hits and walk in 2 complete games victories. It was a storybook ending for Saberhagen, who helped finish off St. Louis with a 5-hit shutout in Game 7, a day after his wife gave birth to their first child. The combination of feel-good moments turned Saberhagen into an American darling, aimed the afterglow of the Royals' world title, capping his publicly tour with a appearance on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Saberhagen hiccup in 1986. He suffered for numerous injuries and admitted he was unprepared for the spring training after a winter of celebration, but returned to an ace form in 1987, winning 18 and posing a 3.36 ERA to become the youngest comeback player of the year, receiving at age 23. He dipped again in 1984 with a 14-16 record, but in 1989 came roaring back once more with with a vengeance, taking home his second Cy Young, leading the major leagues in 23 wins against just 6 losses and a 2.16 ERA, 262.1 innings pitched in 12 complete games. Following the pattern, Saberhagen crashed in 1990, limiting 5 wins. Elbow surgery cut his season short. He then accumulated yet another comeback, a mile one in 1991 with a 13-8 mark, and enjoyed a career high by throwing his only career no-hitter in August, in which would be his third to last start at Kansas City in a Royals uniform. Saberhagen was dealt that the winner to the Mets in a 5-player deal, and the odd even routine soon ended for him, to be replaced by mostly off years as injuries increasingly took their toll on him. And that's my top 5.
So the funny thing is, you and I have the same list. I do have an honorable mention since you mentioned my top 5, and that's Zach Greinke. He was drafted by the Royals in the first round, 6th picked overall in 2002. Made his Royals debut in 2004. Greinke pitched about 210 games over different times during the 7 seasons that he played with the team, posting a 60 to 67 record, which was misleading to some of those teams that were among the worst that the Royals have ever fielded. In my opinion, personally, Greinke's 2019 season was one of his best as a Royals pitcher, along with Nelson in 1972, Saberhagen in 1989, Bosby in 1974. Yeah. By June 28th, Greinke had a 10-3 record, which seemed to be toying with hitters. He finished with a 16-8 record, which was the league-leading 2.16 ERA, which earned Greinke a Cy Young Award. In his five of his losses, the Royals have only scored 3 runs, and in 4 of his non-decisions, they only score 5 runs. Like I said, 2009 for the Kansas City Royals was terrible. They finished 65-97. Greinke's anxiety issues was a problem for Kansas City, and he demanded to be traded, which helped the Royals acquire pieces to propel the team to the 2014 and 2015 World Series. Greinke kind of bounced around this a bit, 6 teams in a row, and now he's on his 16th year. Actually, he's now on his. I don't know. Did he retire? Zach Greinke?
I'm not sure. I think he did.
Yeah, he probably did. Yeah. I believe, do you think that Zach Greinke will make it into the Hall of Fame? He'd probably make it in the Team's Hall of Fame. I know they do that in football. I just don't know if they do that in baseball or not.
Yeah, they do. They retire jerseys and stuff like that in baseball. He could make it as a team's Hall of Fame, but I don't think he's going to make the baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, so that's my honorable mention. Up next, actually, the Chicago Cubs. I don't know what's been going on with them. They have a 43-44 record, currently losing to the Phillies 8-0, top of the 8th. But outside of their win yesterday to this same Phillies team, their last win was over the Dodgers in the 20. So it's been about 11-ish games. They went from first to and out down to the third because of the win yesterday. So what's been going on with the Chicago Cubs?
Well, they're coming off a 1-game winning streak. They're losing 8-0 now. And, baseball gets in. You got, like I said, you're getting these high marks. You're getting these wins, and you run them off, and then all of a sudden you somehow an injury or your pitching forgets how to pitch, or that somebody has a bad day. It gets you off schedule. They have becoming off schedule here. They have dropped. They won one, now they're about to drop another one here today. Their last 10, they're 1-9. Their last 10 games, soon to be, if they lose this one, the last 10 games will be 0-9 in the last 10 games, because the one game they won will drop off because this is the 11th game here.
No, they won yesterday.
Yeah, so that'd be one in all of a sudden in the last 10 games, though.
Yeah.
So it starts back over again. So they go 1-1 here. They're still in good place. They're 8.5 games behind. First place Milwaukee Brewers. Who thought Milwaukee would be in first place right now?
I didn't.
Nobody here did. I picked Milwaukee to be fourth in this in division. Just like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who took 2 out of 3 against the Braves. They lost the last game against the Braves 14-3. So but Chicago, though, here is struggling. The pitching is struggling. The hitting is struggling tonight. If you look at it here, they're 27-15 and this again, they're 27-15 at home, 16-29 on the road. So they're not a good road team. So that's what I think about Chicago right
and
now.
Just so you know, John Suggs has brought a comment. We were talking about Zach Greinke earlier.
Yeah.
He is still playing with Zach Greinke is still playing with the he's playing with the Astros. Do you think that the Chicago Cubs are going to trade Kris Bryant?
Well, right now, if they keep falling, yeah, you might see him trade them out. But if they can get back on a winning streak, I don't think they will trade him. It just depends on what Chicago feel like, what they're gonna do. If they can get back into the run, or maybe they trade him to get a spark plug. So that's gonna be another. It's kind of hard for me to say right now because we don't know where Chicago is going to end up. We don't know if they're going to end up back on a winning streak or they're going to keep falling where they do. I say if Chicago gets down near the bottom and they're not going to be able to make that up or not going to be in a wild card, then you might see Kris Bryant gone.
I know I've asked this question, but I still want to know. I've asked this question. I just don't think it was to you. I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. Do you think the Chicago Cubs are going to trade? Do you see Chicago trading Kris Bryant to the Washington Nationals for Steven Strasburg?
Well, now that's going to be up to Washington if they want to get rid of Strasburg. That's going to be. That's gonna be there. If Washington decides to Strasburg is gonna be washed up here, they're not gonna help him out anymore, or if they can't re-sign him to a deal, then they could trade him. But I don't think the Nationals is gonna trade him unless the Washington National thinks he's gonna be washed up here.
Washington Nationals. This probably won't be a deadline trade. This probably more like an off-season move. But I heard that the Washington Nationals, if they do not make the playoffs, that's what their first move is going to be, trading Steven Strasburg.
Yeah, they could. We don't know how. If they can get something for him, yeah, I would trade him before he gets too old or too washed up where they can't get no meat for him. So I mean, Chicago might be in looking for a pitcher. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a mid-season trade at the trade deadline, but it could be. I mean, you never know. Baseball is fickle with these, moves come out of nowhere. And if the trade deadline comes up, they still can get rid of them. They just waive them and then, wait for the waiver wire. But I don't think they're going to do that there. They need to get something for them. And if they're going to try to get it, Chicago could be looking for a starting pitcher, and that might move Bryant with Strasburg then.
So John, again, going back to the comments, he's John Suggs in the past couple of weeks. He seems to have been picking on my Texas Rangers. I just want to point out, yeah, we're 3.391%. I get that, but I get the Detroit Tigers have more wins than we do, but we still have more wins than your hot take about the Tigers getting 20 wins.
Yeah, but you also got to look at it too. I mean, the last 5 games, Texas Rangers playing 500 ball in the last 10 games, so they're 5-5. Just like you said, they're young. They got 34 wins. They are 2 more wins better than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is the laughing stock of Major League Baseball right now. But then you got the Arizona. Arizona's only got 25 wins. So to me, Pittsburgh looking good to get that 49 victory, a little bit over the 49 victory. Arizona's right now looking at trying to get that 49 victory. I mean, they're 24 games out of that 49 victory mark that everybody plans for them. So, and Pittsburgh 17 games out. So,
and yeah, I see your comment, John Suggs, but they've been dealing with a lot of injuries, especially with that pitching staff. So another topic, so the MLB trade deadline's going around. Yeah, I'm using John Suggs' question a little bit, but what do you see the Yankees? Do you see them making a move in the trade deadline?
Well, they could, but the question is, what are they? Who they're gonna really trade for? Trade for. Right now, they're sitting 9 games out of first place behind the Boston Red Sox. They're 44 and 42.
They lost today 4-0.
Yeah, they won 4 in the last 10 games. They won 4 games and lost 6. They're 4-6 in the last 10 games. So I mean, if you're looking at it, are they gonna decide to part ways with Stanton? Or are they gonna decide to part ways with Judge? With one of the 2 power hitters gonna have to be one of these big trademarks if they're gonna get something for them. That's gonna be a good question there because Carlos Stanton is not living up to his name. When he came out of the Florida Marlins up to New York, he's been injured a lot. So the question is, which one of the 2? I think if they're gonna trade one of the 2 power hitters, it could be Carlos Stanton at the trade deadline.
So the Washington Nationals, I'll talk about Washington Nationals. They came out with a big, blowout win yesterday. Now we were just talking about them a little bit earlier with Steven Strasburg when they played the San Diego Padres. They beat them 15-5. And then now they're currently up. It's bottom of the 4th over the Padres, 8-6. So my question is not really for the Washington Nationals, more for the Padres. But do you see the Padres making the move? Because the Padres haven't been really that. I mean, they're good, yes, but they're not the team that we kind of expected out of them.
Yeah, I mean, who do they trade for? I mean,
I don't see a pitching staff trade.
Huh?
I don't see a pitching staff trade. But maybe something along the
it could be a reliever being traded out. Two relievers to the Angels for Trout. Angels ain't. I mean, if you look at what the Angels are doing right now, um, they are they're 44 and 42. I mean, Trout could be on the way out. So, hey, if I was San Diego, I'll see what I could do to get Mike Trout into the Padres lineup. Or Trout to the Braves. I mean, somebody. I mean, if you look at San Diego, they've been in a slump, yeah, but some of their slumps is because they had players injured. They're getting healthier again.
With Tatis, yeah.
Yeah, and if they play the Atlanta Braves again, if they keep playing if they would have played Atlanta Braves all season, they'd probably be undefeated right now because they're 6-0 against the Braves. But anyway, San Diego, between teams and stuff like that. So I mean, if they get hot again, they can produce a little bit more. I mean, if you look at it here, San Diego's in third place at 4.5 games out behind San Francisco Giants. Who in the world thought the San Francisco Giants would be in first place over even they got one game over the Dodgers. But I mean, I didn't even see that coming. I thought it was going to be the Dodgers and San Diego, and then the Giants be in third place, not in first place. But they've been playing pretty good baseball too. So I mean, for San Diego to get back up in that race, they're gonna probably have to make a trade or something. But like I said, they need to find out who they can get in that Anaheim in the Angels, and try to get Mike Trout in that lineup.
So moving on away from that team and going towards the Atlanta Braves. Now you mentioned them earlier about the record. The Padres being 6-0 against the Atlanta Braves. But I actually wanted to talk about this last series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They won 14-3. However, the Pirates took the last couple of games. I really think, finishing off the remaining of the season's second half. I have a question. I think the Braves still play another set of games against the Pirates, if I'm correct on that.
Well, if you look at it here, the Braves, Pirates took the first two games of the series. Braves came back and won 14-3 in the third game of the series. They didn't get swept. They did lose the series. They only won one game out of the whole bunch. They lost the first game 11-1 against Pittsburgh. They lost 2-1 in the second game, and they won 14-3. The Braves had took 1, 2, 3 series. They took 3 series before coming into this series. So we thought the Braves were turning a corner. Once again, they didn't. They got the Marlins coming up on the 9th at 7-10. They took 2 of the 3 out of the Marlins last in Atlanta Braves. So they're going into Miami to play the Marlins this time. So if the Braves can come out with another series victory and then get above that 500 mark, I think the Braves would start taking off at the All-Star break. We know that the Atlanta Braves after the All-Star break plays great baseball. So, I mean, they're starting to get into that tune right now. If you look at it, they start getting that tune, but they're getting most of their players back that's been injured on the injured list. So that's helping them out good. They got a guy out of that farm league who's came out done pretty good. I think the Braves, could make a push, but I mean, if their manager's a problem, then they're gonna have to look and see if they can replace. But they're not gonna go out and replace the manager, or the Rangers not gonna get rid of their manager. Like Suggs says. But anyway, I think the Braves are looking, and if they do, if they give the push, then Snicker's going to be back. If they don't get that push and they miss the playoffs, I think the next manager is going to be Chipper Jones. I have no slightest idea. Chipper wants to get into a managerial position. He's on the he's a hitting coach, specialty coordinator right now. But if the Atlanta Braves won, I think Chipper Jones could be that next manager if Snickers don't get this team back up and ready to go and get them back into the playoffs. So,
yeah, Rangers are not getting rid of Joey Gallo. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I mean, I know it's like one of the moves that has been talked about. And I get that his 2019 was a better year than so far we're looking at this year. However, like I said, it's more of a this team's like young, and I see really if they're doing this bad, but next year, then yes, I would say trade Joey Gallo, but they have the most number of rookies on their roster. So no, I don't think really. I think it might be strange for me to say this, but I think the Rangers shouldn't be buyers or sellers in the trade deadline.
Yeah. The Braves don't have no more games with Pittsburgh.
Okay.
They do have 3 more games against San Diego, which is in Atlanta. They have a 4-game series with New York coming in July 25th, 26th. They got a doubleheader on the 26th. And then they got a 27th to 28th. Actually got 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 5 games in a row. They play a doubleheader on the 26th against the Mets. The 27th of July, they play the Mets. The 27th, 28th, and 29th is the Mets, all in Atlanta. Then Milwaukee comes to town on the 30th, 31, and the 1st. They got a lot of games with They got 3 games with St. Louis. They got 6 more games with Washington, 3 more games with Cincinnati, 3 more against Miami in August, 3 in Baltimore, 2 in the Yankees, 3 in San Francisco, and then they go to LA for 3, Colorado for 4. Then they're back home against the Nationals. Then Miami's back. Colorado's comes to Atlanta. Then they're off to San Francisco, Arizona. Then they got 3 more games against San Diego in September. And then they finish it off with the Phillies and the Mets. So
I'm counting right now because there was a lot of runs scored between both of these teams. I mean, right now we have, well, as of this year, we've had 1, 2, 3 games that ended up being in the winner scores double digits.
Yep.
I mean, you had a 20-1 game 2. Braves beat the Pirates, and then you had Pirates beating the Braves 11-1, and then the Braves beat the Pirates 14-3. So, going back to some of the other things with the MLB, the Diamondbacks, they are lost to the Colorado Rockies today, 9-3.
Right.
But we talked a lot about this pitching staff. I mean, can you see any other team outside of the Arizona Diamondbacks get the number 1 overall pick?
No. Arizona's in last place. They're going to be in last place. If you look at it, they only got 25 wins. The closest team near them out of that 25 wins will be your Texas Rangers with 34. And then with Pittsburgh with 32 and the Rangers with 34. Well, actually, Baltimore could be challenging them because they're only 3 games. Arizona's only 3 games behind Baltimore in wins. So Baltimore is 28-58. These are all the last place teams right now. American League East, Baltimore at 28 and 58. Kansas City in the Central, American League Central 36 and 51. Texas in the American League West 34 and 53. Then you had the Marlins at 38 and 48 in the National League East. Then National League Central Division, Pittsburgh 32 and 54. And then the National League West, Arizona at 25 and 64. So it's gonna be between Arizona and Baltimore.
I honestly think that we're actually going to finish off probably as a third or fourth draft pick.
Yeah.
So that is all the topics that I have to talk about. There wasn't a lot of MLB games today. I mean, there was total number of 9. I mean, it's definitely not like the 3 that we had on Sports Corner. I can definitely say that.
Yeah.
Anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, if you look at Colorado's destroyed Arizona 9-3. Yankees lose to Seattle 4-0. You got the Cleveland Indians winning 7-4 over Kansas City. You had the Twins beating Detroit, and then you had 2 games postponed: the Blue Jays and the Orioles, and the Pirates and the Mets all postponed. The Pirates, San Diego's closed within 1 of the Washington Nationals on top of the 5th, 8-7. Brewers beating Cincinnati 5-3, and then Chicago's getting manhandled 8-0 in the top of the 9th. So,
oh yeah, one other thing: the Marlins. This is their first loss of the 4-game series that they're having with the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers won today 6-1, but they lost 6-9 yesterday. Lost 2-1 against the Marlins. By the way, that game was extra innings.
yeah.
I hate that rule. And then the Marlins beat the Dodgers 5-4.
Yeah, the Dodgers won 1 game out of the 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they got to go to Atlanta to play the Braves on tomorrow at 7:10. Is a game.
So that is all. That is all. This has been Nate and Ray Cruz signing out. We'll see you next week.
Peace.